This is High Definition News right now.
I'm Jeff Kaufman. It's rare that a vice presidential candidates debate produces a breakout star, but last night's debate in Salt Lake City did, and it was neither Vice President Mike Pence nor California Senator Kamala Harris. It was the housefly that landed on Pence's head during the debate and stayed there for a couple of minutes, visible on camera against the vice president's snow-white hair. He did not seem to notice, but social media did, and a million memes were born.
Election 2020 in high definition.
As for the debate itself, in tone at least, it was the complete opposite of the car crash that was the first debate between President Trump and Joe Biden. Both Pence and Harris spoke over each other at times, and both ignored moderator Susan Page of USA Today when she tried to enforce time limits. But mostly, the candidates stuck to the issues. And the biggest issue in election 2020 is President Trump. Harris criticized the president's handling of the coronavirus pandemic.
Well, the American people have witnessed what is the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. The vice president and the president were informed about the nature of this pandemic. They were informed that it's lethal in consequence, that it is airborne, that it will affect young people, and that it would be contracted because it is airborne. And they knew what was happening, and they didn't tell you.
The reality is, when you look at the Biden plan, it reads an awful lot like what President Trump and I and our task force have been doing every step of the way. I mean, quite frankly, when I look at their plan that talks about advancing testing, creating new PPE, developing a vaccine, it looks a little bit like plagiarism, which is something Joe Biden knows a little bit about. And I think the American people know that this is a president who has put the health of America first, and the American people, I believe with my heart, can be proud of the sacrifices they have made. It's saved countless American lives.
Senator Harris, would you like to respond?
Absolutely. Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked. When you're looking at over 210,000 dead bodies in our country, American lives that have been lost, families that are grieving that loss. And you know, the vice president is the head of the task force and knew on January 28th how serious this was. And then thanks to Bob Woodward, we learned that they knew about it. And then when that was exposed, the vice president said, when asked, well, why didn't y'all tell anybody? He said, because the president wanted people to remain calm.
Well, let's get
but Susan, this is important.
Susan,
I want to add, but
here.
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking.
I have to
I'm
weigh
speaking.
Yeah, you can have 15 more seconds, and then we'll give the vice president a chance to respond.
So I want to ask the American people, how calm were you when you were panicked about where you're going to get your next roll of toilet paper? How calm were you when your kids were sent home from school and you didn't know when they could go back? How calm were you when your children couldn't see your parents because you were afraid they could kill them?
President Trump and I trust the American people to make choices in the best interest of their health. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about mandates, and not just mandates with the coronavirus, but a government takeover of health care,
Thank you,
the Green New Deal, all government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
Let's talk about respecting the American people. You respect the American people when you tell them the truth.
Given the president's many false statements about coronavirus treatments, and especially a possible vaccine, moderator Page asked Senator Harris if she'll take a vaccine once it's approved by the FDA.
If the doctors tell us that we should take it, I'll be the first in line to take it. Absolutely. But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
The fact that you continue to undermine public confidence in a vaccine, if the vaccine emerges during the Trump administration, I think is unconscionable. And Senator, I just ask you, stop playing politics with people's lives.
Both candidates ignored questions they did not want to answer and instead just talked about something else. Harris, on the report, President Trump paid almost no taxes for a decade and paid only $750 2 years in a row.
We now know, because of great investigative journalism, that Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. When I first heard about it, I literally said, you mean $750,000? And it was like, no, $750. We now know Donald Trump owes and is in debt for $400 million. And it'd be really good to know who the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, owes money to, because the American people have a right to know what is influencing the president's decisions.
The two also differed on the protests over police brutality and systemic racism that filled the streets of many cities around the country beginning in May.
I was a part of those peaceful protests, and I believe strongly that, first of all, we are never going to condone violence, but we always must fight for the values that we hold dear, including the fight to achieve our ideals.
I think, look, and with regard to George Floyd, there's no excuse for what happened to George Floyd, and justice will be served. But there's also no excuse for the rioting and looting that followed.
Senator Harris.
I will not sit here and be lectured by the Vice President. We are talking about an election in 27 days, where last week the President of the United States took a debate stage in front of 70 million Americans and refused to condemn white supremacists.
Not true.
And
not true.
This is who we have as the President of the United States. And America, you deserve better.
You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American people.
Nobody scored a knockout, and probably the only one at the debate who'll feel a bounce is that fly. The next presidential candidates debate is supposed to be a week from today. The Debate Commission announced that because of the president's coronavirus infection, it'll be a virtual debate. Everyone will be remote. This morning on Fox News Channel, President Trump rejected that idea.
I heard that the commission a little while ago changed the debate style, and that's not acceptable to us. No, I'm not going to waste my time on a virtual debate. That's not what debating's all about. You sit behind a computer and do a debate. It's ridiculous. Yeah, we learned it the same way you learned it. They called up 2 minutes ago, and it was announced.
The Debate Commission apparently did not consult with either campaign before announcing its decision. Thanks for listening to High Definition News Online. To listen live, tune to High Definition News during Mornings on the Beach. Weekdays at 8 a.m. on Long Beach Public Radio, KLBP 99.1 FM. And on 22 West Radio in Long Beach, 88.1 FM, HD3. You can also listen live at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern at klbp.org, 22westmedia.com, and BPM Beats 1.
Have you looked out the window? Have you peeked at the sky? Are you trying to guess the weather? Well, don't even try. There's just one man who can decide. Who else but the weatherman?
Long Beach and Southern California weather after the morning clouds burn off. Today will be cooler than it has been the past week or so. Expect 71 in Long Beach and along the coast, 75 in Metro LA and Orange County. Now you know what we know. I'm Jeff Kaufman, High Definition News.